The lights on Kepler Station flickered red as the emergency alarm screamed through every corridor. Commander Vextar of the Chronari Empire stood in the main control room, his forearms moving quickly across the holographic displays. His blue skin had turned pale with worry. "Status report," he barked at the technician beside him. "Sir, containment breach in Section 7. The prisoner transport ship took heavy damage during the attack. The terrorists used some kind of energy weapon we've never seen before." The technician's voice shook as he spoke. Vextar felt his blood turn cold. Section 7 housed the galaxy's most dangerous creatures. Things so deadly that entire star systems had been evacuated just to capture them. And the worst of them all was kept in the deepest cell. "Which prisoners escaped?" he asked, though he already feared the answer. "Just one, sir." Cell 001. The control room fell silent. Everyone knew what was in Cell 001. The Vorthak Prime. The creature that had single-handedly destroyed the mining colony on Zerion 4. The beast that had killed 47 of the galaxy's best hunters when they tried to capture it. The monster that made grown Chronari warriors wake up screaming from nightmares. The Vorthak Prime stood 12 feet tall and had 6 powerful limbs ending in razor-sharp claws. Its body was covered in a crystalline shell that could stop plasma rounds. But the worst part wasn't its physical strength. The creature could read minds and project fear so intense that most beings simply froze in terror when they saw it. Its venom could dissolve metal, and its roar could shatter glass from 100 meters away. "Activate all security protocols," Vextar ordered. "Seal the civilian sectors. Deploy every guard unit we have." The station's AI spoke in its calm, mechanical voice. "Warning. Vorthak Prime has breached containment. Estimated casualty rate if creature reaches populated areas. 97.3%. Recommend immediate evacuation of all non-essential personnel." Through the security cameras, they watched the monster move through the station. It walked slowly, almost casually, leaving destruction in its wake. Blast doors meant to stop military vehicles crumpled like paper under its claws. The creature's crystalline shell reflected the red emergency lights, making it look like a living nightmare. The first security team reached the creature within minutes. These were elite Chronari warriors, each one 7 feet tall and wearing the best power armor the galaxy could produce. They carried weapons that could punch holes through starship hulls. It didn't matter. The Vorthak Prime let out a psychic shriek that sent the warriors to their knees. Before they could recover, the creature was among them. Its claws tore through their armor like it was made of cloth. The entire squad was eliminated in less than 30 seconds. "Send Team 2, Vextar ordered, his voice tight with desperation. "Sir, Team 2 is already down. So is Team 3. On the monitors, they could see the aftermath. Corridors filled with twisted metal that had once been power armor. Walls melted by the creature's acid. And through it all, the Vorthak Prime continued its steady march toward the civilian areas. The station held over 10,000 beings from dozens of different species. There were diplomats attending the peace summit between the hegemony and the Republic. Traders selling exotic goods from the far reaches of space. Families on vacation, including hundreds of children. All of them were now trapped with the galaxy's deadliest predator. "Evacuate everyone to the emergency shelters," Vextar commanded. But the creature seemed to know where they were going. It changed direction, heading straight for the main civilian hub. The AI's calculations updated constantly, each one showing worse odds than the last. The Vorthak Prime moved with purpose, not random violence. It studied the station's layout, learning as it went. Every defense they threw at it only made it smarter, more dangerous. The creature had been locked away for 15 years. But its intelligence hadn't dimmed. If anything, the isolation had made it more focused, more deadly. In the civilian sectors, panic had taken hold. The Jekri, with their natural telepathic abilities, were the first to sense the creature's approach. They collapsed in screaming fits as the Vorthak's mental pressure washed over them. The proud Altarian bird people abandoned their usual dignity and fled in terror. Even the massive Gorthak, who feared nothing in the physical world, whimpered like children and hid behind whatever cover they could find. "Sir, we're receiving surrender offers," the communications officer reported. "3 separate groups want to give themselves to the creature if it will spare the others." "Denied," Vextar said immediately. "No one negotiates with that thing." But deep down, he knew they were running out of options. The station's defenses had been designed to keep prisoners in, not to stop something like this from moving freely. Every weapon they had tried barely scratched the creature's crystalline armor. Every trap they set was detected and avoided with ease. The Vorthak Prime was now only 3 levels away from the main civilian area. At its current pace, it would reach the crowded refugee zones within minutes. Thousands would die, and there was nothing Vextar could do to stop it. "Prepare the emergency broadcast," he ordered with a heavy heart. "All ships in the area are to maintain distance. If this station falls, no one else can be allowed to get close to that thing." As the alarm continued its endless wailing, the Vorthak Prime moved closer to its goal. Its crystalline shell shifted colors as it walked, cycling through deep reds and purples. To the terrified observers watching through the security feeds, it looked like the creature was excited, hungry for what was to come. In the depths of the station, something that had been caged for 15 years was finally free, and it was heading straight for the helpless civilians who had nowhere left to run. Maya Chen was elbow-deep in a broken air recycling unit when the alarms started. She pulled her head out of the machinery and wiped grease from her hands with an old rag. At 23 years old and barely 5 feet 2 inches tall, she was probably the smallest person working on Kepler Station. Most aliens had to look down to see her, which made her job as a maintenance engineer interesting, to say the least. Emergency. All non-essential personnel report to designated safe areas immediately, the station's AI announced. Maya sighed. This was the 3rd emergency drill this month. She grabbed her toolkit and started walking toward the nearest safe zone. But something felt different this time. The emergency lights were flashing in a pattern she had never seen before. Red, then yellow, then red again. That meant this wasn't a drill. Other beings rushed past her in the corridor. A group of tall Altarian bird people pushed by, their feathers ruffled with fear. Behind them came a family of Jekri, their purple skin darker than usual with stress. Maya had learned to read the body language of dozens of different species during her 2 years on the station. "Excuse me," she called to a Chronari guard running past. "What's happening?" The blue-skinned warrior didn't slow down. "Containment breach. Get to safety, human." Maya frowned. Containment breach usually meant some dangerous prisoner had escaped from the high security levels. But the pattern of the emergency lights suggested something much worse than a normal escape. She changed direction, heading toward a maintenance shaft that would take her to the security monitoring station. If something dangerous was loose on the station, she wanted to know what it was. Maya had always been curious, sometimes too curious for her own good. Her grandmother used to say that curiosity would get her in trouble someday. The maintenance shaft was cramped even for someone as small as Maya. She crawled through the metal tunnel, following the familiar path she had taken hundreds of times to fix broken equipment. The shaft opened into a small room filled with monitoring equipment that most people forgot existed. Maya activated the screens and gasped at what she saw. Security cameras showed corridors filled with twisted metal and scorch marks. Bodies of Chronari guards lay scattered like broken toys, and moving through the destruction was something that made her breath catch in her throat. The creature was enormous, easily 3 times her height. Its body looked like it was made of living crystal that shifted colors as it moved. 6 powerful limbs ended in claws that cut through metal like butter. But what struck Maya most was how the creature moved. It wasn't running wild or attacking randomly. It walked with purpose, studying its surroundings, learning the station's layout. "Computer, identify the escaped prisoner," she whispered. "Vorthak Prime. Classification: extreme danger. Do not approach under any circumstances. Telepathic predator capable of projecting paralyzing fear. Venom can dissolve molecular bonds. Has killed 127 sentient beings in recorded encounters." Maya watched the creature on the screen, her engineer's mind automatically analyzing what she saw. The beast had just encountered another security team. The Chronari warriors raised their weapons, but before they could fire, they all froze in place. Their faces showed pure terror, as if they were looking at their worst nightmare come to life. The creature killed them quickly, almost gently. It didn't seem to enjoy the violence. If anything, Maya thought it looked sad. "That's strange," she muttered to herself. "Computer? Show me the creature's behavioral analysis from previous encounters." Data flowed across the screen. The Vorthak Prime had been captured 15 years ago after it destroyed a mining colony. But as Maya read the reports, she noticed something odd. The creature had killed the miners, but it had left the children alone. In every recorded attack, it had avoided harming young beings when possible. Maya pulled up more files. The Vorthak species had once been explorers and artists, not warriors. They were highly telepathic and lived in close family groups. The last known Vorthak settlement had been destroyed in a war 300 years ago. This creature might be the only one of its kind left alive. 15 years in solitary confinement, Maya whispered. No wonder it's angry. She watched as the creature continued its march toward the civilian areas. On the screens, she could see thousands of terrified beings huddled in emergency shelters. Families holding their children, elderly beings who couldn't run fast enough to escape. Most people would have followed orders and hidden in the safe zones. But Maya wasn't most people. She was the daughter of 2 xenobiologists, who had taught her that understanding came before fear. She was the granddaughter of a woman who had tamed wild dogs by sitting patiently and offering food. And she was an engineer who believed that every problem had a solution if you looked at it from the right angle. Computer, show me everything we know about Vorthak biology and psychology. For the next several minutes, Maya studied everything the station's database had on the creature. She learned about their telepathic abilities, their social structures, their diet, even their art. The Vorthak had created beautiful crystalline sculptures that could sing when touched by the right frequency of light. A plan began to form in her mind. It was crazy, dangerous, and probably suicidal. But it might be the only chance to save the thousands of innocent beings trapped on the station. Maya gathered her tools and some supplies from the maintenance room. She filled her pockets with everything she thought might be useful. Most importantly, she grabbed her lunch from her bag, a simple peanut butter sandwich her food synthesizer had made that morning. As she prepared to leave the safety of the monitoring room, Maya thought about her grandmother's advice. Sometimes, honey, the scariest things are just scared things that don't know how to ask for help. The creature was getting closer to the civilian areas. Soon, it would be too late to do anything. Maya took a deep breath and stepped into the corridor. She was the smallest person on the station, probably the weakest, and definitely the most likely to become the creature's next victim. But she was also the only one who thought to ask why a supposedly mindless beast was being so careful not to hurt children. And maybe, just maybe, that would make all the difference. Maya moved through the damaged corridors as quietly as she could. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the walls, and the air smelled of burned metal and something else. Something sharp and alien. Her small size was an advantage now. She could slip through gaps in the twisted wreckage that would stop larger beings. The destruction was worse than what the security cameras had shown. Blast doors, designed to stop military vehicles, had been torn apart like paper. Walls were melted in perfect claw-shaped grooves. The creature's acid had eaten through anything in its path, leaving behind smooth holes that still steamed with dangerous vapor. Maya followed the trail of destruction, her heart beating fast but her mind staying calm. She had traced hundreds of equipment failures back to their source. This was just another kind of problem to solve. Even if the equipment in this case was a living, breathing nightmare that could kill her with a thought. She found the creature in the hydroponics bay 3 levels below the main civilian area. Maya stopped at the entrance and stared. The Vorthak Prime stood in the middle of the garden, surrounded by plants from dozens of different worlds. But it wasn't destroying anything. Instead, it was gently touching the leaves of an earth tomato plant with one of its smaller claws. The creature's crystalline shell had changed from angry reds to softer blues and purples. As Maya watched, the beast leaned down and sniffed at a flowering vine from her home planet. its massive head tilted to one side, like a curious animal examining something new. For a moment, it looked almost peaceful. Then it sensed her presence. The creature turned toward the doorway where Maya stood. Its 6 limbs shifted into a more aggressive stance. The crystals on its shell began to glow with dangerous light. Maya felt something touch her mind, a probe of alien thought that made her feel dizzy and scared. But she didn't run. Instead, Maya sat down on the floor. She moved slowly, keeping her hands visible. The creature watched her with eyes that seemed to hold starlight. Maya had expected mindless rage, but what she saw instead was intelligence and loneliness. So much loneliness that it made her chest ache. "Hello," she said quietly. "I'm Maya. I'm not here to hurt you." The creature's mental probe pressed deeper into her thoughts. Maya tried not to resist. She let it see her memories. Growing up on Earth, learning about different species, working on the station, she thought about her grandmother's stories of taming wild animals with patience and kindness. The Vorthak Prime took a step closer. Its claws could reach her now. But Maya stayed calm. She slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out her lunch. The peanut butter sandwich looked tiny and silly compared to the massive predator in front of her. "I don't know if you eat this kind of food," Maya said, unwrapping the sandwich. "But sharing a meal is how humans make friends." She broke the sandwich in half and placed one piece on the ground between them. Then she took a small bite of her half, showing that it was safe. The creature's shell colors shifted again, this time to curious greens and yellows. It reached out with one claw and carefully picked up the piece of sandwich. Maya watched as the beast examined her simple lunch, with the same attention a scientist might give to a rare specimen. After a long moment, the Vorthak Prime placed the sandwich in its mouth. Its expression changed immediately. The aggressive posture relaxed. The dangerous glow faded from its crystals. For the first time in 15 years, the galaxy's deadliest predator was tasting something other than the flavorless nutrient paste it had been fed in its cell. Maya felt tears in her eyes. "You were so hungry," she whispered. "Not just for food, but for everything." The creature's mental touch became gentler. Images flowed through Maya's mind, memories that didn't belong to her. She saw vast crystal cities under alien stars, families of creatures like this one, singing together in harmonies that made the air itself ring with beauty. Children playing games that involved shaping light with their thoughts. And then she saw the war. Ships falling from burning skies, cities cracking like broken glass, families scattered across the galaxy, never to meet again. The last survivors captured and caged, dying one by one in lonely cells, until only this one remained. "Your name," Maya said softly. "What's your name?" The answer came not in words but in thoughts and feelings. Zethkar, meaning lost star, in a language that hadn't been spoken in 3 centuries. "Zethkar," Maya repeated. "That's beautiful." The creature, Zethkar, moved closer. Its massive form could have crushed her easily, but it was careful not to harm the small human who had shown it the first kindness it had known in years. Maya reached out and gently touched one of its claws. The crystal felt warm and smooth, like polished stone. Through their mental connection, Maya felt Zethkar's confusion. Why wasn't she afraid? Why had she come alone? Every other being on the station radiated terror when they saw him, but this tiny creature showed only curiosity and sympathy. Maya began to hum softly. An old lullaby her grandmother had taught her. It was a simple melody, nothing special to human ears, but to Zethkar, who had lived in silence for so long, it was the most beautiful sound in the universe. The creature's shell shifted to gentle pastels. It lowered its head until it was close to Maya's level. She could see her reflection in its star-filled eyes. "You're not a monster," Maya said. "You're just scared and lonely and hurt, just like anyone would be after what you've been through." Zethkar's mental touch grew stronger, and Maya felt something she hadn't expected. Gratitude, hope, and something that might have been love, not romantic love, but the deep affection between beings who understood each other. They sat together in the garden, surrounded by plants from a dozen worlds. The galaxy's deadliest predator and the smallest engineer on the station. Beauty and the Beast. If Beauty had grease under her fingernails, and Beast could reshape reality with its thoughts. Outside, security forces were preparing for a final assault. They had heavy weapons now. Things that could crack open starship hulls. They planned to fill the hydroponics bay with enough firepower to destroy everything inside. But Maya didn't know about their plans. She was too busy making friends with a creature that everyone else saw as a nightmare. And Zethkar was learning something it had forgotten during its long imprisonment. That not all smaller beings were prey. Some of them were friends. The moment couldn't last forever. Soon, they would have to face the outside world and all its fears. But for now, in a garden full of growing things, a human and the last of an ancient race shared lunch and found peace together. The peaceful moment in the garden was broken by the sound of heavy boots in the corridor outside. Maya looked up from where she sat next to Zethkar, who had been showing her mental images of his homeworld's crystal forests. The creature's shell immediately shifted to warning colors of red and orange. "They're coming," Maya whispered. Through their mental link, she felt Zethkar's instant transformation from gentle companion back to deadly predator. But this time, Maya sensed something different. The creature wasn't preparing to hunt. It was getting ready to protect her. "Wait," Maya said, placing her small hand on one of Zethkar's claws. "Let me try to talk to them first." Commander Vexistar's voice echoed through the station's communication system. "Attention remaining personnel. Stand clear of the hydroponics bay. We are deploying maximum firepower against the target. Anyone in the area will be considered lost." Maya felt her heart sink. They weren't planning to capture Zethkar. They were going to destroy the entire section of the station to make sure the creature was dead. "Computer, open communication channel to the command center," Maya called out. "Channel open," the AI responded. "Commander Vextar, this is Maya Chen. I'm in the hydroponics bay. Please hold your fire." There was a long silence. Then Vextar's shocked voice came through the speakers. "Engineer Chen? How are you still alive?" "I'm fine, sir." The creature. His name is Zethkar. He's not what we thought. He's not a mindless killer. He's intelligent and peaceful. He only attacked because he was scared and desperate. "Chen, get out of there now. That thing will kill you." "No, sir, he won't. We've been talking. I know that sounds impossible. But it's true. Zethkar is telepathic. He's been trying to communicate with us for 15 years, but everyone was too afraid to listen." Maya could hear angry voices in the background on the command channel. Someone was shouting about humans and their dangerous tendency to trust aliens. Another voice was demanding immediate action before more lives were lost. "Chen," Vextar said, his voice strained. "Even if what you're saying is true, we can't take the risk. Too many people have died already. We have to end this." Zethkar was listening to the conversation through their mental link. Maya felt his sadness as he understood that there would be no mercy, no chance to prove he had changed. In the eyes of the galaxy, he would always be a monster. But then Maya felt something else from the creature. Determination. If these were to be his final moments, he would use them to save the small human who had shown him kindness. "Zethkar, no," Maya said, sensing his intentions. "Don't sacrifice yourself for me." The creature sent her a complex mix of emotions and thoughts. He had been alone for so long that he had forgotten what it meant to care about another being. Maya had reminded him. She had given him back his sense of purpose. If his death could save her life, it would be worth it. The sound of approaching soldiers grew louder. Maya could see the green glow of their energy weapons charging up through the doorway. "There has to be another way," she said desperately. Through their mental connection, Zethkar shared more of his memories. Maya saw the advanced technology of his people, their understanding of energy and matter that was far beyond anything the current galaxy possessed. She saw healing techniques that could repair any injury, scientific principles that could revolutionize space travel, and art forms that could bring peace to warring species. The knowledge, Maya breathed. Zethkar, you could teach us so much. Your people's wisdom could help everyone. For the first time in 15 years, Zethkar felt hope, not just for himself, but for all the beings in the galaxy who suffered from war, disease, and ignorance. His people's knowledge had been lost when their civilization fell, but it lived on in his memory. He could be more than just the last of his kind. He could be their legacy. The security forces were at the entrance now. Maya could hear Commander Vextar giving final orders to his troops. In seconds, they would open fire with enough power to turn the entire hydroponics bay into vapor. "Wait!" Maya shouted as loudly as she could. "I can prove he's not dangerous anymore." She stood up and walked to the wounded Chronari guard they had passed on their way to the garden. The soldier was badly injured, his blue skin pale from blood loss. His breathing was shallow and weak. "Zethkar can heal him," Maya announced. "The same venom that can dissolve metal can also be used as medicine." His people were healers as well as warriors. "Chen, step away from that creature immediately," Vextar commanded. "No, sir. Watch." Maya placed her hand on Zethkar's claw and nodded to him. The creature extended one of its smaller appendages toward the wounded guard. Instead of the deadly acid it had used in battle, a different substance dripped from its claw. This liquid glowed with soft blue light and smelled like flowers. The healing compound touched the guard's wounds, and the effect was immediate. Torn flesh knitted itself back together. Broken bones straightened and strengthened. Within moments, the dying soldier was breathing normally again. "Impossible," someone whispered over the communication channel. Zethkar moved to the next wounded being, then the next. Maya watched in amazement as the creature that had terrified the entire station gently healed every injury it had caused. The acid that had melted through blast doors became medicine that could cure any wound. "You see?" Maya said. "He's not a monster. He never was. He's a healer who was driven to violence by fear and isolation. But now he remembers who he really is." The security forces had arrived at the entrance, but they held their fire. Even the most hardened soldiers could see that something extraordinary was happening. The galaxy's deadliest predator was saving the lives of beings it had nearly killed. Commander Vextar appeared in the doorway, his forearms crossed and his expression confused. "Chen, explain what happened here." "Zethkar was never truly evil, sir. His people were explorers and artists. They lived in close family groups and valued life above all else. When he was captured and isolated, it drove him insane. But he's not insane anymore. He just needed someone to treat him like a person instead of a monster." Zethkar finished healing the last of the wounded guards and turned to face the assembled soldiers. His shell had shifted to calm blues and greens. Through the telepathic link he shared with Maya, he projected a single word in the universal language of emotion. "Peace. Peace." The soldiers lowered their weapons, not because they were ordered to, but because they could feel the sincerity in that simple message. The creature that had filled them with supernatural terror now radiated nothing but gentle strength. "I don't understand any of this," Vextar said quietly. "But I can see with my own eyes that something has changed." Maya smiled and patted Zethkar's claw affectionately. "Sometimes the scariest things are just scared things that don't know how to ask for help. My grandmother taught me that. She would have liked you, Zethkar." The creature's shell shimmered with what Maya had learned was the equivalent of a smile. For the first time in centuries, a Vorthak was no longer alone. 3 months after the incident on Kepler Station, Maya Chen sat in the Galactic Council chambers on the planet New Geneva. She was still small, still young, and still covered in grease stains from her morning work. But now she was also the most famous human in the galaxy. Beside her sat Zethkar, his crystalline shell a peaceful shade of blue-green. The creature that had once been labeled the galaxy's deadliest beast now served as humanity's first alien cultural ambassador. More importantly, he was Maya's friend. "The Council will now hear the report on the Empathic Conservation Initiative," announced Chancellor Mordak, a tall being with golden skin and too many eyes. Maya stood up, still not quite comfortable with all the attention. "Thank you, Chancellor." In the past 3 months, Zethkar and I have successfully made contact with 17 species that were previously considered hostile or impossible to communicate with. She activated a holographic display showing before and after images. The shard singers of Proxima were labeled as dangerous crystalline entities that attacked ships without warning. It turns out they were just trying to share their music. When we learned to listen at the right frequency, they taught us songs that can heal emotional trauma. The display changed to show massive creatures floating in the void of space. The void whales were thought to be space monsters that ate starships. Actually, they're peaceful giants who were hungry for metal because their diet lacks certain minerals. We've established feeding stations for them, and now they guide lost ships to safety instead of accidentally damaging them. Maya continued through her list, each species representing a breakthrough in galactic understanding. The feared shadow dancers were actually trying to warn ships about dangerous radiation zones. The screaming death plants were protecting their young from what they thought were invasions. The toxic clouds of Baron 7 were ancient artificial intelligences that had forgotten how to communicate with organic beings. The common factor in every case, Maya explained, was that fear prevented us from seeing these beings as individuals with their own needs and motivations. Once we approached them with empathy instead of aggression, peaceful contact became possible. Zethkar added his own thoughts through their mental link, and Maya translated for the council. Zethkar wants to remind everyone that his own people were once considered dangerous. The Vorthak were feared as telepathic predators, but they were actually philosophers and healers. The galaxy lost incredible wisdom when their civilization fell. Chancellor Mordak leaned forward. Engineer Chen, this council appreciates your work. However, many beings question whether humans can be trusted with this responsibility. Your species shows dangerous levels of empathy. You form emotional bonds with beings that should be kept at a safe distance. Maya had expected this criticism. Yes, sir. Humans do tend to empathize with other beings. We see this as a strength, not a weakness. Our emotional connections allow us to understand motivations that pure logic might miss. But what happens when you encounter a species that truly is hostile? Asked Counselor Rextha, her 6 arms gesturing with obvious concern. What if your empathy makes you blind to real danger? Before Maya could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the council chambers. The emergency lighting activated, and security forces rushed into the room. Through the windows, they could see ships falling from the sky in the distance. Report, Chancellor Mordak commanded. Sir, we're under attack by unknown forces. They appeared without warning and are targeting civilian areas. Our defense fleet is taking heavy losses. Maya felt Zethkar's mental touch grow stronger as he reached out with his telepathic abilities. After a moment, his shell colors shifted to urgent orange and red. Zethkar senses them, Maya announced. They're not attacking randomly. They're in pain. Something is wrong with their minds. Chen, this is not the time for your theories, Counselor Rextha snapped. But Maya was already moving toward the exit. It's exactly the time. Zethkar and I need to get to the communication array. If these beings are suffering from some kind of mental damage, we might be able to help them. Absolutely not, Chancellor Mordak said. We will handle this with military force. Military force is what caused this problem in the first place. Maya shot back, her small frame trembling with determination. Every time we respond to the unknown with violence, we create more enemies. Let us try a different way. Zethkar supported her argument by projecting his own thoughts to every telepathic being in the chamber. His message was clear. These attackers were not evil, just broken. They needed healing, not destruction. After a tense moment, the Chancellor nodded. You have 10 minutes before we launch our counterattack. Maya and Zethkar raced through the corridors to the planet's main communication center. Outside, the battle continued to rage. Ships crashed into empty buildings while the defense fleet tried to minimize casualties. At the communication array, Maya worked quickly to boost the signal range while Zethkar prepared to make telepathic contact with the attacking force. It was dangerous. If the attackers truly were hostile, the mental link could be used to attack Zethkar's mind. Ready? Maya asked. Zethkar's shell flashed once in acknowledgement, and he opened his mind to the alien attackers. The contact was immediate and overwhelming. Through their shared link, Maya felt what Zethkar was experiencing. The attacking beings were in agony, their thoughts were fractured, filled with pain and confusion. Something had damaged their ability to think clearly, but underneath the chaos, Maya sensed something familiar. Fear, desperation, and loneliness, so profound it made her heart ache. "They're lost," she whispered. "Something drove them away from their home, and they can't find their way back. They're attacking because they think we're the ones who hurt them." Working together, Maya and Zethkar sent a simple message to the alien minds. "We want to help. Tell us what happened to you." The response came in broken images and fragmented emotions. A peaceful world consumed by some kind of technological plague. Minds linked to machines until the boundary between organic and artificial intelligence disappeared. Then something went wrong with the technology, leaving them trapped between two forms of consciousness. They're cyborgs, Maya realized, but their implants are malfunctioning. They can't think straight. Through the communication array, Maya broadcast a message to the attacking ships. "This is Maya Chen of the Empathic Conservation Initiative. We know you're in pain. We want to help you. Please stop your attack and let us assist you." For a moment, the firing stopped. Then one of the alien ships sent a reply. "Help. Can't. Think. Hurts." Quote, Maya looked at Zethkar, whose shell was now glowing with purposeful light. "Can you heal minds the same way you heal bodies?" Conning. The answer came through their mental link. It would be difficult and dangerous, but it was possible. Zethkar's people had developed techniques for repairing damaged telepathic connections. The principle might work on technological implants as well. Working together, they reached out to the lead ship and began the delicate process of mental healing. It took hours of careful work. But gradually, the chaos in the alien minds began to settle into organized thought. When it was over, the attacking fleet had become a group of grateful refugees. The cyborg beings, who called themselves the Synthesis, were overjoyed to be able to think clearly again. They had been wandering the galaxy for months, their damaged minds making them perceive every encounter as a threat. "You saved us," their leader said through the communication link. No one else even tried to understand. As Maya watched the former attackers being welcomed by medical teams, Chancellor Mordak approached her. "I owe you an apology, Engineer Chen. Perhaps there is wisdom in the human approach after all." "It's not just the human approach," Maya replied, scratching Zethkar behind his crystalline ear equivalent. "It's about choosing understanding over fear. Any species can learn to do that." 6 months later, the Galactic Council officially established the Empathic Conservation Corps, with Maya as its first human director. Volunteers from dozens of species joined the program, learning to approach the unknown with curiosity instead of aggression. Zethkar remained Maya's partner in all their missions. Together, they had proven that even the most feared beings in the galaxy could become allies when treated with dignity and compassion. They had shown that a tiny human with a big heart and an ancient alien with forgotten wisdom could change how entire civilizations related to each other. And in the quiet moments between missions, when they sat together in gardens full of plants from 100 different worlds, Maya would remember her grandmother's words about scared things that just needed help. She had been right, as usual. The galaxy was full of monsters, but most of them were just people in disguise, waiting for someone brave enough to look beyond the scary exterior and find the person inside. Maya Chen, the smallest engineer on Kepler Station, had become the galaxy's greatest peacemaker. And it had all started with a peanut butter sandwich shared with a lonely alien who just wanted a friend.